Hello, it's D the B, and sorry if my voice doesn't sound the same way as the video that comes after. I'm a little bit sick right now, but I figured I'd bring this up. Apparently, Avatar is racist. Of course, it had to happen, and it's such for a stupid reason. Like, literally, one of the arguments is the only people who play blue aliens should be blue aliens. Huh, how are we supposed to do that? Does anyone see any blue aliens? Oh, wait, no. No, you don't. I just wanted to throw this out there. I hope you enjoy the review.
Hello guys, it's D to the B here, and today I'm going to be talking about a movie I did not expect to be talking about, but I'm kind of glad I am, and that is Avatar 2, and I really liked it. Yeah, no, I'm not joking, I actually liked Avatar 2, The Way of Water. So if you're not familiar with my channel, mostly this video, you would know that I never really cared for the first Avatar movie. For me, if you're wondering, it wasn't the visuals. Some people say the visuals are terrible, which it's not true. Visually, it was good, and there is some interesting lore building, but for me, the story is very lacking. Like it's not a great story, and if you're familiar with my channel, story is the most important thing to filmmaking, in my opinion. It should be the number one priority, not number two, not number three, not number 500. It is uno. But if anyone enjoyed the first Avatar, I'm not gonna hate on you. We are allowed to like whatever we want. And to be honest, I think I would watch Avatar 1 like 500 times over the garbage we've been getting. Like, examples, the sequel trilogy of Star Wars, Ghostbusters 2016, Men in Black, 4, or whatever it was called, that dumpster fire of a movie, a big portion of Marvel Phase 4. Yes, Marvel Phase 4 is garbage. I'm sorry. It should have ended with Phase 3. Even though I like No Way Home, and personally, in my opinion, consider it the end of the Infinity Saga, Phase 4 should have never happened. And they should have just left the franchise dead. Because it would have had a good reputation if it ended after Endgame. Because now, if you're paying attention, a lot of people are sick of superheroes, and I honestly couldn't blame them in some cases. But enough about the dumpster fires. Let's get into the beauty known as Avatar: The Way of Water, which somehow, in my opinion, improved the problems I had with the first Avatar, which was story lacking. Yes, it does not have a great story. I just never enjoyed it. I tried. Even when I was reviewing it, I tried rewatching the movie to see if my mind could be changed. It's just never going to be one of those films that I'm going to be interested in. But this second one impressed me. Like, the story is way better. I'm going to start with a non-spoiler review and explain my thoughts about the movie and some key details, and then I'll get into spoiler territory. So, the short version of the story that doesn't involve any spoilers is that Jack Sully and his wife have a family, and we go many years after the events from the first movie, and of course the humans return, and we also get to learn about this new tribe, which is underwater base, which was interesting to know that there are other tribes of the Avatar people, and they have to fight the humans, kind of like the first film. Alright, that's the non-spoiler review. So if you have not seen Avatar: The Way of Water and you really want to, I really recommend clicking on the video, going to the theater, or book a day to go to the theater and watch the movie first before you watch this part of the video, because we are going to get into story details, and I don't want anyone going like, "Oh man, you spoiled the story for me." Well, I told you there are going to be spoilers, you idiot. So yeah, go watch the movie if you want to know what happened so I don't spoil you. Anyway, let's get into the spoiler territory. So the movie opens up with, of course, as I mentioned in that spoiler review, Sully and his wife having a family, and we also get to meet this new kid named Spider, which I'll get into further detail about because he's kind of relevant to the plot of the movie. Spider befriends Sully's kids. It turns out that all the humans were evacuated except for a small few. The small few who stayed were on the Avatar side, including Spider, which was too young to go back to Earth when they were evacuating, so Spider had to stay on the planet. I think it's called Pandora, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong. And Jack Sully and his wife and his family enjoy themselves as they go through the family life. And then, of course, the humans return because we gotta have the humans as the threat. Anyway, then we transition to the bad guy's secret lair, where we find out the main villain of the original Avatar movie, Colonel Miles, has been brought back to life. Now, when I heard this on the internet, because this was apparently something James Cameron said, was that Colonel Miles was gonna come back to life, and even though being not a fan of the first Avatar movie, I kind of wondered how, because he is dead. Like, how would you bring him back? But the movie completely justifies him coming back to life using the Avatar clone bodies, which was interesting. And we got some interesting details that apparently Colonel Miles had his memories downloaded to this new body just in case he died, which of course he did. And we get to find out how the backup memory works. They pretty much remember everything except their death. And of course, Colonel Miles wants to get revenge on Jack Sully for his death, or being involved in his death. Well, he thinks he killed him. You'll get the point. So he has his minions, which are also avatars, or fake avatars, and also humans, to get Jack Sully out. And of course, Jack Sully wants to abandon the village, but his wife doesn't want to. And at some point, they decide to try fighting, and the younger son gets injured in the process. The younger or older son is grounded. I think it was the younger one, if I'm not mistaken. Then, of course, even though being grounded, the children, including the younger son, his sister and the younger sister, decide to go in the forest. Oh, and also Spider. And we get to find, and well, they get to find out that Colonel Miles is alive. Colonel Miles also finds out in the process how he died, and he crushes his own skull. No, this is actually in the movie, so they found his dead body in the mech, and he grabbed his skull and crushed it, which was kind of awkward. So then, of course, Jack Sully and his wife arrive to try to stop Colonel Miles, but in the process, Spider gets abducted by them, and Jack Sully decides to leave the village and go as far away as possible, where we get to meet the water tribe of the series. And they're very interesting. Like, I thought it was just the people, like, in the jungle. Apparently, there's more tribes. This makes me kind of curious if we're going to see other tribes in the other 3 Avatar movies that we're going to be getting. It just makes you wonder. Anyway, so Jack Sully is asking the tribal leader to accept them. The village people are not for it. Eventually, the tribal leader accepts it and said they'd be treated like the young, where they don't know how to adapt. They try, well, we get a big montage of them trying to get into custom with the culture of the water people. I'm going to say this, even though liking this movie, it was way gosh darn too slow. Like, the beginning was good, but I think for me, and I think a lot of people, I think the middle is where it kind of gets long and, like, stretched out. Like, there is definitely some things that probably could have been cut here, even though it was cool, but some of it still could have gotten cut because it just stretches out for way too long. Like, I know I've seen movies that are longer than this one, like, example, the Snyder Cut of Justice League, which is 4 hours. I'll give it credit, it's not a 4-hour movie. But you also have movies where they're kind of the same amount, but they're a bit faster paced. Like, let's bring up, like, Avengers Endgame, which was pretty much a 3-hour movie, and it had a faster pace than this one. And yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because I know I'm not the only one with that issue. But anyway, continuing on with the plot, the Jack Sully's family tries to blend in with them. His oldest daughter was the only one who was enjoying the sea life, and yeah, it kind of stretches out from there. We also get to see the military base, and Colonel Miles tries to talk to his way of finding Jack Sully and doesn't succeed. Before that, they try torturing the information out of him. And there is a bit of question here, like, Spider was a baby in the events of the first film, and he's his father, which is a bit confusing because, wait, how old is... Okay, I just looked. I couldn't find anything on Kershaw Miles, but I did search his actor, and his actor is currently 70 years old. So that's a bit confusing, especially how he had the gray hair in the original film. It just makes you think a bit. Like, I'm getting, like, Palpatine from Rise of Skywalker. Granted, I don't think he is as old as Palpatine, but I don't want to think about it. Unless if Spider is adopted, which is an interesting thought, but I think he's his biological son. I would have probably taken grandson. That would have been more viable. Maybe there's something I don't know. Who knows? But yeah, so far, kind of makes me uncomfortable a little bit. Anyway, continuing on, we go back to the water village. the older sister is enjoying the water life, and these guys from the water village, especially the tribe master's son, decides to bully her out of nowhere. And of course, Sully's family and the bullies have a big old fight because they were calling her sister crazy, which we find out later the older sister is actually it's established, I think, in the beginning. It's actually established that she's actually the daughter of the lady who died in the first movie. And we find out later a bit in the film when she's upset after she was being teased. We find out that she has like some connection to the Pandora's god, which I forget. And it's interesting. Then after the big old fight, Jack Sully has his younger son apologize to the tribal leader's son, and they decide to go on a trip where the tribal leader's son and his friends completely abandon him to be eaten alive or something, where a giant whale creature saves him, which is missing a fin and has a giant metal tag on it. Jack Sully's younger son eventually returns to the water village, where he, for some reason, takes the blame for the tribal leader's son's mistake, but it's explained. He understands how it's like to be the outcast of the family, disappointment of the family. I was mistaken. And they become friends after that. They discuss about the whale that saved his life. It turns out, in their perspective, the whale turned out to be like a traitor and started eating the people of the water people. Then we continue on more with the movie. Colonel Miles tries to hunt down Jack Sully by executing and burning villages, killing sea creatures. Eventually we get to the final battle, which leads to Spider's escape at some point, and the death of Jack Sully's older son, which was not expected. I actually did kind of cry when this happened because, like, man, I can't imagine how that feels like to lose your own child at a very young age. I just can't imagine it. And that's when I'm like, man, the movie just got real. So then Jack Sully and Colonel Miles fight each other again, and this time it's more personal because at some point before his son died, the older one, his daughters were captured, actually twice. There's even a joke in the movie where I kind of laughed, where the younger one's like, I can't believe I've been handcuffed again, which was actually kind of funny. As I was saying, they fight each other. Jack Sully puts Colonel Miles, he makes him unconscious, and he sinks to the ground, in the ocean. You would think he's dead at this point, but nope, later in the film, his son, Spider, or whatever his name is actually, decides to save him, which I guess it's the right thing to do, but that means he's going to be the main villain of the third movie, which it's better this way, to be honest. If they killed him again and then brought him back to life a third time, I would have been like, ugh. But this time it's actually justified, because if he's the villain in the next movie, it's completely justified now, because if they brought him back again, I'm like, can you just let him die already? But it's completely justified. Spider, lets his father go after the final battle and goes back to the Avatar people. They adopt Spider into their family. They have a funeral for the older son, which then they go to these plants that go like into the spirit realm of their world, which also happened earlier with the older daughter. She got to see her mom, and then she had a massive seizure and barely escaped with her life. But continuing on, they see the older son who died in that vision, and then Jack Sully was gonna leave, but the tribal people say that because your son was buried here, you're a part of this tribe now. And Jack Sully says that the only way he's gonna protect his family is fighting them, not running away, which was something I kind of had an issue with, that he was trying to run away from his fears. But yeah, that is everything that I can remember. And speeding up the thing a little bit, I think this review would have went a bit longer if I got into the full details. And maybe it's best that I didn't get into everything, because I think this movie is definitely worth watching. Look, if you were someone who didn't care for the first Avatar like I did, I definitely think this one is worth it. Like, it improves from what the previous Avatar movie had because the story was very lacking. It mostly focused on a message instead of focusing on story, because again, I like story, not shoved politics. But I will say I will take the environmental message over the politics we get in modern movies. You know, to be honest, I'm surprised this movie turned out as good as it did, because Disney holds the rights to this film now, because the original Avatar was made by Century Fox, which, guess who owns that? Disney. I'm surprised they didn't mess with James Cameron's vision at all. I'm surprised. Because you would think they would try to mess with this vision, but granted, there was probably nothing really to mess with. But yeah, this movie, in my opinion, is definitely worth it. Go see it while it's still in theaters. And even if people who didn't like the original Avatar, like me, I'd say it's definitely worth the shot. Go see it. It is definitely worth the money. It focuses more on story than the message. I really recommend it. If I had to rate this movie, I had to give it like maybe an 8 out of 10. The reason I said 8 out of 10 is because of how slow it is. Unfortunately, it didn't do exactly what the director wanted, but granted, it might have been our current situation's fault, which I'm not going to get into because I'm not sure how YouTube would react if I brought up the situation I'm referring to. But if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I mean. But anyway, what did you think of the movie if you saw it? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Or did you think it was okay? Tell me in the comments, and have a nice day, everyone.